Hi, Matthew. Thank you so much for coming on the Three Success Secrets series today to talk about elevating sales, coaching, and performance, which is a topic near and dear to my heart as a sales leader. Before we talk any further, I'd love for the audience to get to know you a little bit better. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. And thank you, Sylvia, for having me on today. My name is Matthew Toth. I'm the VP of Sales for the Neat company. And I've been there for a little over 12 and a half years. I've run multiple inside call centers as well as every aspect of sales out there. So, happy to be here and talk about elevating sales coaching.
I love what you've put out in terms of content on LinkedIn about being a leader who really devotes time and attention to his people. So I couldn't be more excited to have somebody like you talk about this very topic. Before we dive into your three secrets, though, Matthew, I'd love to pull up for just a second and talk about why you think coaching is ever more important now in the midst of everything that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with working from remote locations, not being face to face very often in kind of the environment that we are all thrown into, having great coaching, having great development, and making sure that your reps and your teammates are feeling good, all promote a better performance. They all promote reaching goals. They all promote, happy, successful working environment.
I love your focus on the individuals on your team and then individually, right, each person. With that said, let's go ahead and get right into your three secrets. Can we hear secret number one to elevating sales, coaching, and performance?
Secret number one is the gut check. We use a 5-15 methodology to get how our reps are feeling.
Can you talk a little bit more about that methodology?
Absolutely. So the methodology is a template that takes the rep about 15 minutes to put together, and it takes the manager about 5 minutes to redigest and respond to it. And then the idea is the bigger the organization, it now would take the manager 15 minutes to put all of that together and bring that up a level and so on. So at a glimpse, all the way up to the CEO or the highest level, they can get a very good look at the overall feeling of the group, how we're doing from a gut check perspective, the wins, the losses, the roadblocks, the accomplishments that are going on with every individual within the organization or team. Secret number two is knowledge transfer. So the art of coaching is transferring knowledge. And if you do it right, your team can digest and use it properly. If done improperly, it just becomes another Zoom call or another call or coaching session, and there's no benefit from it. So early on in my career, before I started sales, I was a teacher's aide in a learning and a behavioral disabilities classroom. And what I learned is everybody learns differently. And, if I just coach and transfer knowledge in the one way that may work for me, whether that's auditory or visual or any of the other sales or any of the other learning abilities, it may not be picked up and digested properly and used properly for performance enhancement. Yeah, secret number three in all coaching should be personal or professional development. So working on something that your teammate wants to work on. It's not all just, direct role related performance. So if you make somebody a better person, they'll be a better employee.
That's music to my ears, my friend. I love what you said about really building the holistic person. What's an example of you doing that with a member of your team where you're really focusing on right, not just the revenue aspect in sales, but really their life, right? What happens outside of the 9 to 5? I'd love to hear an example from you, if that's okay.
Yeah, certainly. So something I'm currently working on with a rep is critical thinking skills. So, being able to take yourself back from a process or a set of instructions and be able to pull out what's important, what's not important, and then make recommendations on how to fix or improve those processes. And then, the final step is obviously to create. So obviously that works well within the sales process, within the sales organization, but just in general, to be able to help solve problems in your own life, whether it be personal at home with a relationship or so on, those critical thinking skills are so important as you progress in life, as you progress as a professional and in your career. And that's one of the key things that I've seen a lot of employees that get promoted up to a manager level. They can't take that step back and see for the greater good, for the greater process, what works and what doesn't work. So teaching things like critical thinking skills are so important.
I know we have in the past talked about how in the busy world of sales management and leadership, it's always a juggle, right? To figure out where do you spend time, where do you prioritize. What's a piece of advice or a piece of counsel you would give to a manager who might be going, I love everything you're saying, I want to do it, but I'm just so time constrained right now.
And it is time consuming to do it correct, to have the proper prep time and the proper time to actually conduct the one-on-ones is so important. And, my first step would be, that is the prioritized first thing that goes on the calendar. I make sure that both the one-on-one are scheduled on recurring meetings at a time that works for both of us, as well as the prep time, whether it be the day before or that morning or what have you, is on the calendar before any other meetings get on there, before the weeks start to get busy. The second is evaluate what is really important. The number one way a manager can help their company generate more revenue and be more efficient is to raise the level of the entire team. If you raise the level of the entire team by just a few percentage points, it's more than any individual contributor can do by themselves. It's more than any meeting or brainstorming event or any other thing that's on your calendar will do. So know that that's one of the most important things you can do. And I'm sure there's a meeting or two on your calendar that you can get rid of. I'm sure, I'm sure there's a few of those events that could be email driven, or, hey, send me the topics and I'll catch up later. The idea of the 515 is just a quick 1 through 10 gut check. So you're not spilling all the secrets. You don't necessarily have to get out of your comfort zone. Whether you put a 2 down, a 6 down, a 5, an 8, it doesn't matter. It's over time. So, if it's 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, okay, great. Things look like they're getting better. Can you tell me what we're doing as a company, as a team, as whatever's happening that's making it go positive? Or if it goes from 8 to 8, 8 down to 7, 7, 7, okay, I noticed that you're putting this, right? It's not something specific that maybe they do or don't want to get into. So just seeing the trends over time, being able to, especially in this world of COVID and working from home, you don't get to see body language all the time. You don't get to see, when somebody's showing up on time or late, or if there's any of those red flags that managers would normally see in a teammate. This is a good way of just seeing over a longer period of time what the general sentiment of how the week went. It's a plus or a minus. It's a number scale. And then the second part is not just looking at that number at face value. So one of my, a story I love to tell is one of my reps had an 8, and most people would say, hey, that's great, right? But really, I asked the question of, well, what would make it a 10? And it came up that they were having issues with their living situation, and leases were ending. They needed to find a new one and all of this. And that was just weighing on their shoulders. So yeah, at work, they were an 8, but in their personal life, they weren't. And just really taking not the 8, the number itself as meaning, hey, this is great, but really just finding out, well, what would make it better? And it was just an easy conversation. And by the end of the day, we stopped our coaching session. We made some connections on Facebook with real estate agents in the area. And by that evening, she had a great place to live. So, weight off the shoulder and everything, all through a very simple, I would have never known this, working from home and being separate, but never would have known that unless these numbers were filled out.
Let's go to secret number 2 again. So this idea of knowledge transfer. So for managers and leaders of really large teams, what is something that you would encourage them to do to ensure that the transfer of knowledge is befitting of the various styles?
Yeah, and it's even more challenging now that we're not in person. So just making sure that you're keeping the 7 different sales styles in mind. So if you're an auditory learner, making sure that speaking back and forth in more of a classroom type style, some people learn very well that way. So run a few meetings that way, with your group, your full team, or individual one-on-ones. Make sure that you have the visual component. That could be a little whiteboard in the back. That could be, a piece of paper sending over an infographic or some collateral or something for them to look at while you're speaking. And then, some of it's social. And some of it's not so solitary learning. So, you have group meetings and you have one-on-ones. You maybe do group coaching sessions. You have a rep in there and maybe 3 or 4 other teammates are call coaching or doing something as a group. And then sometimes it's, hey, go read this article on your own, think about it, digest it, and why don't we talk about it next week? So just keeping all of those different learning styles, into your group activities. And for one-on-ones, you can test it out, but the easiest way, just ask. So just remember, keeping the coaching, the gut check, the professional development coaching separate from, pipeline meetings, deal meetings is so important, because those are very dashboard metric driven, and you want to kind of separate those meetings or those, events out from sort of the how are you feeling, because they get passed by so quickly. Oh yeah, I'm fine. Let's get to these deals. And those get overlooked. I like to separate those meetings out in the times that we've had them.
That is a tremendously impactful pro tip. So I'm going to actually have on the screen like a little exclamation mark. That is gold. Well, let's talk about how others can continue talking more with you, because I know I can talk for hours about this with you. Yeah, I want to make sure others can do the same with you as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. So, two main ways. One, if you kind of like the coaching mentality that I have, follow me on LinkedIn, come jump into the comments of any of my posts, and I'll do the same on yours. So that's just LinkedIn/IN/Matthew J. Toth. The second, obviously, is the Neat company, so neat.com. We focus on simplifying the bookkeeping and reconciliation tasks that small businesses face on a daily basis. Email is mtoth@neat.com. Please reach out if you have any questions, anything that we do. We'll be happy to have that conversation as well.
Thank you for your generosity as always, and great to see you on the show. Look forward to having you back again before long.
Thank you, Sylvia. Have a great day.
Thank you, Matthew. Bye for now.
Take care.